Dubrovnik, a beautiful city in the south of Croatia, sitting on the coastline where Europe meets the Adriatic Sea, is a settlement rich in culture and architecture, cut off by Bosnia from the rest of the country. In the last few years, a surge in tourism has made it a go-to destination for anyone looking for either sunny beaches or historical excursions. A plane ticket from the UK will cost you about £200 to £500, but you could get a used car for under £500 and see all the equally as attractive sights along the way. And that's the challenge. 2,000 miles, 10 countries, all in a car worth around £500. So what sort of supercar can balance long distance performance with a low price?
This is the Honda Jazz. This particular model is 16 years old, it's got 100,000 miles on the counter, and it's twice pre-owned, all contributing to its grand price tag of around £500.
Magnificent machine has a 5-speed manual gearbox, 82 brake horsepower, and can achieve 0 to 60. Now, they say the one thing that Honda drivers consider when buying a new car is how many Mint Imperials will fit in the glove box, and in that regard, the Jazz is surprisingly spacious for a vehicle of its class. And that's useful, because to make the trip to Dubrovnik, I was going to need some help. Here's my crack team: the navigator, Will Foster; the accelerator, James Hughes; and the banter generator, George Bertie Bond. But why drive all the way to Croatia if you're not going to do it in style? So I'm travelling to our top secret workshop in Wiltshire to see if we can make the Jazz a little bit more exciting.
We are Dashnerys, Tyregearyen, and this is Carlisi.
It was an early start because the first overnight stop would be all the way in Brussels, Belgium. But first, we had to assess our competition in Dover. We were the first to arrive at our meeting point, and it wasn't long before the rest started showing up. Starting with an inferior Honda, the Honda Civic. They were followed closely by the Ford Focus, VW Golf, and Ford Focus Estate. The remaining competition turned out to consist of the Ford Ka, the BMW, the Mazda MX-5, the Seat Ibiza, the Volvo 60 as the oldest car in the convoy, the Citroen C2, the Rover 75, and the Alfa Romeo, which had been purchased for a staggering £200. Even the producers had come prepared with a £500 Jaguar. But last to arrive was an even more terrifying car than that, the Citroen Zara, a £400 beast from 2002, crewed by Harrison Juhas, Tim Smart, Will Pinder and Joe Legend. The cars were lining up nicely, including the Rover. Keep an eye on these two, Shahir and Ali, as we expected them to be some of our main rivals. And after everyone was assembled, eventually, we were ready to drive to the ferry port. The ferry was a great opportunity to catch up with our fellow drivers before we inevitably lost them when we all docked on the other side of the channel.
Quite a few questionable cars. £300 car. Yeah.
One of which is our own.
Well, you've got the
Rover 75. We've got Rover 75.
Confident it'll make it?
Yes, I'm confident it'll make it.
Do you think ours will make it?
No.
But we had no time to worry about them. We had to get ourselves to Bruges by lunchtime, which meant being able to work the car.
I'm in fourth, but it feels like I'm in like second. You are in second.
Once we found our way, we began to chase down the rest of the convoy with the next country on our checklist, France. We had no stops in the country, which meant after a short drive we made it into neighbouring country Belgium, another French-speaking country. It was in this country that we did have a daytime stop-off. Bruges. A canal city, Bruges is like a Belgian Venice, but what differs between the two is Belgium's love for waffles, and we could see why. They were an excellent start to the trip. Back on the road, we were lost. So we consulted our navigator.
Well, check this sign to go around. I think it will be the third exit. I'm not certain.
Proving himself useful, we pressed on along the current path towards Belgium's capital, Brussels, a centre of 52% of the UK's greatest enemy. Like many of the cities in Europe, Brussels has a low emissions policy, which meant everyone would need to leave our wagons outside the centre and commute into the city. And what a city it is! What's noticeable at first glance is its diversity. In fact, 30% of its 1.1 million inhabitants are foreign, with 19 unique communes throughout the region. But we're British, so what we care about is the pub. Brussels did not disappoint in that aspect either. Dubrovnik, with over 2,000 different beers on offer, it would be ludicrous to order a pint of Stella, however locally it is produced. Would that we could make some recommendations, but with Germany's alcohol limit for driving being 4 times as strict as that in the UK, we didn't have much of an opportunity to sample a grand selection. Bonne nuit.
Leaving Brussels at a more reasonable time than day one, we set off towards Stuttgart. But before we could get to Germany, we'd need to pass through a small but significant country in Western Europe, Luxembourg, another country on a long list of places to convince that not all Englishmen are Brexiteers. Clearly some more relaxing was in order, so we planned our next destination before Germany, a drinking water lake in central Luxembourg. It was on this occasion that we learned one member of the group was some sort of marine mammal in a previous life. But there wasn't too much time for polluting the drinking water of the EU with our referendums. We had another country on our day 2 list. Leaving Luxembourg meant that we were finally in Germany, famous for its beer, food, and other things. But it's also notable for its autobahns, which we were about to experience. With no official speed limits, they allow for one of the most thrilling driving experiences in the world. Stuttgart may not yet have been in sight, but the Autobahn seemed very keen to send us to what is presumably Germany's biggest city, Ausfahrt.
Okay, here's one from Urban Dictionary. Ausfahrt, biggest city in Germany. Almost every Autobahn exit directs to it. Damn, I missed the exit. Don't worry, the next one will be Ausfahrt as well.
To what had to be dozens of Ausfahrt exits. We were in our second overnight destination, to the delight of a certain Welshman. The southern German city of Stuttgart. We were the first to arrive at our stop, along with the KA, and so we waited for news of the others while they arrived.
Where did they break down?
Where?
Yeah,
No.
that's sad.
Still in Belgium were the Rover, who had managed to shear their clutch in half. What's more was that they had neglected to take out breakdown cover, and with no hope of getting repaired until after the weekend, this meant they'd be stuck for the foreseeable future. We decided the only course of action was to ignore their unfortunate predicament and hit the town. First, we stopped at a beer and schnitzel house, where Will managed to upset some of the locals. Then we wandered the street for a bar, where Jim managed to upset, somehow, another of the more unforgiving and less sober locals. This incident caused us to retire for the night, ready for the next leg. Gute Nacht.